All right, in this video we're going to talk about what habits your team is going to learn together and how the navigators intend to support you, what are necessary ingredients for success, and what are good next steps. So let's dive into habits. And we're going to put those two habits in two buckets. One is knowing God, right? And the other is making Him known. So all these habits are going to fit in those two categories because, well, hey, we're navigators, right? We want to know God and we want to make Him known. I'm going to break the habits we want to help you develop into these key words. We want to help you guys remind each other of God's heart, pray together, engage, find, discover, assemble, and multiply. That sounds like a lot of things, so I'm going to break those down as quickly and as succinctly as possible. So the first habit is actually the word know. We want to help you develop habits of knowing Jesus. All those disciplines that you had in college, of getting into the Word and praying, all those spiritual disciplines, we want your team to continue in those habits because disciple making must flow from your relationship with Jesus. And one of the ways that we'll do that is helping you guys develop a habit and rhythm of prayer. So as you try to spur one another on towards love and good deeds, having a regular rhythm of mapping out your relational network and praying for people by name and praying for each other by name as you interact with them is one of the main ways that we're going to see the Spirit of God move these people's hearts and incline them to Jesus. So, as we're praying, we also want to develop these habits and team rhythms of making goals and choices and learning to engage with the lost people around you. And in order to do that, we want to help you guys coach one another because you're the experts on your relational networks. You know your environment better than anybody. So to learn to be able to listen to one another, hear each other's situations, and speak into each other's lives is going to be very important for your team to succeed. And as you're engaging, developing that habit of engaging, we also want to develop your team's habit of discerning and finding the people that God is moving in and who is responding to your efforts to identify with Christ and to love them well. And that might seem simple, but it's actually a learned behavior and one that your team can develop together, is discerning who is the person of peace that is welcoming the idea of Jesus into their life. Next habit is discovering. So as these people respond, there's like a transition period where you're helping them move from this place where God is working in their heart to actually exploring Jesus in the scriptures for themselves and discovering who He is. That too is a habit, and there's an art to that, and we want to help you guys coach each other on that transition between ministering to somebody and really discipling them and giving them access to the God of the universe. And as that happens, and more people in their relational network see the change that's going on in their lives, we want to help you equip them to maybe assemble some of the people around them and explore the scriptures with their social network. So it's not just your social network that matters, it's the people in your social network that is going to respond to Christ, that you'll need to develop a new habit of helping them engage with lost people around them, their friends. And lastly, we want to help your team think about how to multiply all the things that you're doing on your team and train somebody else that you're ministering to do the same. So multiplying your effort. So how is this going to be supported? How is your team going to be supported? The navigators commit to helping each missional team find a coach. That's first and foremost. We're going to help you get started. And the next is we want to help your coaches get you started. So we're going to provide some training for your coach. And lastly, we're going to actually allocate resources to this. We're going to put money to help you guys gather together. And we'll talk about that more in a second. Lastly, or maybe in addition, we're going to try to give you a pathway on how to get started and a trajectory for you to move in together without taking control. We want you guys to be in control of your team, but we also want to give you a picture for how your team can move forward together. So let's talk about what it would take for you guys to actually succeed in doing this. Each team member really has to be committed to gather regularly, and typically that's about every other week for centralized teams. So that's if you live locally. And if you are a centralized team, you really have to commit to living in a reasonable travel distance from one another. That's typically about 20 minutes of a drive. If you're a decentralized team, it is necessary for your success, if you don't live in the same place, to regularly meet on Zoom and gather in person, typically around 2 to 4 times a year. That's what we've done with people in the past. That's worked out really well. And you're going to have to figure out how to do that together as well. A team has got to be committed to learning and developing these new disciple-making habits. That is really where the rubber meets the road. You have to be committed not only to each other, but to the process of learning how to make disciples in your new environment. So if you're interested in all of this, really good next steps would be for you to sit down with your friends, to have a real honest conversation with them and discuss and dream together what it could look like if you were to choose one another, to live near one another, or to team together for the gospel. And that could take a little while. There's lots of logistics in this, and you're going to have to make the time to really think through it with your friends. But my advice would be to just start the conversation with the people that you want to extend the runway of your relationship with into your post-college years. And then maybe the final next step to get this process started is for your entire team to fill out the application. And there's a link to the application in this video, and I hope you'll check it out.